Okay, welcome to part 3 of turning my old PC into a NAS. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our NAS gets a static IP address whenever it boots up. So here's my router management screen on the left. On the right hand side, I'm showing you the two Ethernet ports that are on the NAS. The left one is for something else. The right one is the main connection, Ethernet 2, which is what we'll be using. Now you can just right click, properties, and then under TCP4, give it a static IP address, one that, isn't being used on the rest of your network. For example, 192.168.1.200, with the right subnet mask 255.255.255.0. And basically this will be the static IP. You'll also have to set in the address of your router, 192.168.1.1 in my case. Your mileage may vary, and use the router typically as your DNS. That's one way of doing it. It's not the way that I do it. So I'm going to leave everything on automatic. And I'm going to come down here to the command prompt window that I've opened up, and you've got to type in ipconfig/all. And that's going to give you information about all the Ethernet adapters that are in your machine. Now we care about Ethernet 2. So as we scroll through here, Ethernet 2, here's all the information pertaining to that. And of course, here's the current IP address and also the MAC address. And the MAC address is what we care about. But here we can see the IP, 192.168.1.12 is what's currently being given to me by the router via DHCP. I don't want to use 12. I want to use something else. So I want to make a note of this MAC address here, the physical address, because that's what your router sees. So we go over to the router. I'm using a Netgear Nighthawk, but there'll be the same stuff on your router management. It just depends on which brand of router you happen to be using. I'm using a Netgear. So browsing through the menu here, we can take a look at the Lan Setup. Let me just type in my password here. Okay, so this shows us that the router's address 192.168.1.1, and this is the range of IPs that the router will give out. Everything from 1.2 all the way up to 1.254. So the router's in control basically of all the IPs that are on our network. And you can see here some reserved IP addresses, and we're going to give a reserved IP address to the NAS. So if we take a look at the currently attached devices to our network, this will basically give us a list of the names, in most cases, the MAC address and the IP address. So this is everything that's been plugged in, either wireless, Wi-Fi. And we can see here the NAS penalties. And we can also see its MAC address and the IP. And the MAC address here matches up with the MAC address that we actually saw over here. And again, you can see that it's been assigned 192.168.1.12. So I'm going to copy this because we're going to use the MAC address to reserve ourselves a permanent IP. So we go back over to the Lan Setup, and down here we can choose to add a static IP. And the way it works is give it the IP address you want to use within that range that your router is giving out, paste in the MAC address, give it the name just for your own convenience, NAS or penalties, which is the name of my NAS, hit save, there it is in the list. And then in the case of the Netgear, I need to hit apply, and this will actually restart the router. Okay, so the router's restarted. So what we're going to do now, we're going to basically, we can either restart the NAS or we can just disable and then re-enable the interface, and that will cause it to request an IP address again. So that's what we're going to do. Currently, as you can see, it's at 192.168.1.12. So I go up here, right click, and choose disable. Wait a few seconds for it to disable, and then right click and choose enable. And it's now going to request a new IP address from the router. There you go. And I'm going to run ipconfig/all again. And we're going to check Ethernet 2, and look, we've now got given 192.168.1.200 by the router. And we're going to get given that every time we reboot. Even if we format this machine and reinstall the OS, we'll get again the same IP address because now the router knows who we are by the MAC address. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to set up some shares. This is what we're going to let other machines on the network have access to. So I'm going to make a new folder in drive D, which is my big RAID array, and I'm just going to call it shares. You don't have to do this. You can put everything in the root, but I like to sort of keep things tidy. Within there again, I'm going to have videos, And within videos, I'm going to have a folder called movies, which is where I'm going to keep all my movies, funnily enough. And you'll see why I'm doing this in the next video, where I show you how to set up Plex Media Server. But for now, right click on it. And basically, we're going to specify which people are allowed to have access. These are user accounts on the NAS. So you'll have to create an account for every user you want to have access. For example, for Plex, I'll create a special user and I'll just add it here, but I don't currently have a user called Plex on the NAS, so I can't add it. But I'm going to deal with this in the Plex video instead of here. For now, I have one user on the NAS called Andrew, myself obviously, and I have the same user, Andrew, on my Skull Canyon NUC. So I'm going to give the Andrew user full access to this share. Okay, so now I'm back on the desktop PC, and as you can see in the sidebar on the left here of Windows Explorer, under Network, you've got Penalties, which is the NAS. Obviously, I click on that, and you can see the share that I made, Movies. And I can now just drag and drop files into there as I want. Now, if I created another user or had another PC connecting with a user, Tom, because I haven't given Tom access on the NAS to that share, I haven't created Tom even an account on the NAS, he won't be able to see, download or upload or anything, any files to that share. So in the next video, I'm going to have created several more shares, movies, TV shows, documents, stuff like that, where I'm going to show you how to install Plex Media Server, which is another function I'm going to use my NAS for, to actually serve my movies, my TV shows, whatever, out to my TVs, my iPad, to this PC, and also actually be able to watch the movies on my NAS at home wherever I am in the world, as long as I have a suitable internet connection. So that'll be coming up in part 4. If you found this review helpful, let me know by hitting the like button and dropping me a comment. And check out some of my other reviews and how-tos. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.